first of all, I'd like to do my official function because we were asked that question, why are we here? So I had to ask myself, I'm here because I'm PIMA president. I have to, okay? But beyond that, I think this is an exciting event because today marks the partnership of three organizations, the PIMAP itself, the Society of Fellows of PIMAP, and more particularly, the Asian Institute of Management. So I hope this is just the beginning of many things to come in partnership. I cannot just say welcome. I just have to say a few words, okay? And just to show you that I did a little preparation, I have a few slides that I want to show. I wanted to focus immediately that I think we're happy to note that at this point in time, based on where I sit, we see a growing number of CEOs putting people on top of their agendas. That's the good news. Because 30 years ago, when I started my HR career, that was hardly the case. So from my 30 years or so of PIMAP life, I've seen the growth of the growing value of people in organizations, now finding its place, proper place in the CEO's agenda. And I think this is for good reason, because right now we live in an environment where we say we need to compete on the basis of service. We differentiate, and when we talk about service, we talk about people. We live in an age where we say the value of intangibles is just exploding versus the tangible valuation. We live in an age where we have a lot of difficulties. We have our own struggles, trying to get the right talent for our organizations. Therefore, this and many more, we can form the conclusion that people are indeed getting to be really very important these days. As a matter of fact, some people will say, we're all in the people business. If you don't understand people, you don't understand business. I wanted to, this is a question often asked of me as I toured the 29 chapters, or so many chapters of PIMAP all over the country. And the question often asked of me is, what's the greatest HR challenge? Mr. Plana, what is the greatest HR challenge today? And this is my response. It used to be business partnering. It used to be we wanted to have a seat at the table, so we needed to understand the business so that we can tailor fit our HR solutions to address and advance the business. But beyond that, what I see now is a new partnership called Transformation Partnership. The CEO, any CEO today, will need to radically change the way they run organizations if they are to thrive and survive and succeed in the fourth industrial revolution. And that's why I see the emerging role of HR as a transformation partner. Somebody who can help the CEO craft and implement a transformation plan. And when we speak of transformation, probably the transformation challenge is this, simply. It is moving our organizations, mostly, for the most part, traditional, into what we call probably a resilient organization. You know the limits of traditional organization. It probably was, these are organizations that had practices that was probably good for another time. But as we approach another era, I think we need to really challenge this seriously because they will have no place in the fourth industrial revolution. These practices will need to be challenged and revisited so that we can easily convert into what I call a resilient organization. What is a resilient organization? It's an organization that's so flexible that can thrive in a world of uncertainty, survive crisis, and survive anything that comes its way because it's just so resilient. I think that is the HR challenge. The challenge is to become a transformation partner, and this is the transformation agenda. I just wanted to share with you, very briefly, based on where I sit, what do I see as the greatest major stumbling block to getting into resiliency? And this is what I have for you. The major obstacle is what I call the command and control mentality, which still exists up to this day in many organizations. It's very hard to break away from this. This, what I call patriarchal contract, is something we sign off when we join traditional organizations. What does the contract say? It says, I'll take care of you, but you do as I say. Okay? So there's a lot of implicit requirement for obedience. Okay? That's the reason, and sometimes I find this crazy. We hire the best talent only to tell them what to do. Isn't that a waste of talent? And what's even funnier is this. I find myself in some organizations, because they're so steep, this traditional organization, so steep in hierarchy, we have now what we call the hierarchy of airtime. The higher you are, the more airtime you have. Okay? I think this kind of organization cannot survive the fourth industrial revolution. And that's the reason why command and control, sometimes there is this mentality about looking at people as a resource. Do you know the strict definition of resource, and that's why I don't want the word resource, is this. It is something that is on standby, ready for use. So if you're a resource, you're really not treated as a human being. You're something that can be used, misused, abused, disposed of. And if that's the kind of mentality that persists in traditional organizations, that's the reason why we have miserable workplaces, where people feel unappreciated, underutilized, frustrated, and even demeaned sometimes. That's why it's toxic, it's miserable. That's why if you are VP of HR, we might as well call ourselves VP for Human Remains. Okay? Now, take a look at it from the transformation agenda that we have as HR. And this is what I say. So what's the characteristic of a resilient organization? It's an organization that provides psychological safety to employees. It's an organization where you can be open, the organization is caring, and safe. Safe to speak your mind. You know, it's like a speak-up culture. There's a lot of speak-up culture where the exchange of ideas, no matter how different, can provide that spark that can be the start of generating new ideas, which is needed in the fourth industrial revolution. It is a place where people are not looked up as problems waiting to be solved, but potential waiting to unfold. It is an organization or a workplace where potentials are identified, and not just for a few. Identified and developed because we believe in people. And talking about people, and more we're beginning to see this as the characteristic of organizations of the future. They are people-first organizations. They put people on top of their priority. And talking about people first and putting people priority reminds me of a story, an old story I was able to reflect on about this father who came home one day, had to do something for the following day, so he needed an hour to be alone, but this little 4-year-old boy wanted to play with him. And so what the father did was, he tried to think of what can I give my little boy something to do so that I can be free to do my work. So what he thought of was he took a look at his files, and he saw this map of the world. What he did was to cut them into small pieces with a scissor and then gave it to his little boy. And he told his little boy, okay, can you do this for a meantime before we play and assemble the world? And off the little boy went. And he was saying to himself, well, that will easily occupy my little boy for an hour, so I can do my thing. But he was stunned to find out that only after 7 minutes, the little boy came back with the world assembled. And then the father asked the little boy, son, what did you do? Only 7 minutes you were able to do that? That's fantastic. What did you do exactly? And the little 4-year-old simply said, you know, Dad, while I was working at it, I found out that at the back of the world was a picture of a person. And he continues, I figured, Dad, that if I got the person right, the world will be right. I want you all to have a learning field 2-day summit. Thank you.